Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to our hadith class. We are doing the kitab known as Riyaadhus Saaliheen of Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah. And tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we are continuing on from the ninth hadith in this particular chapter. So we are doing hadith number 193. 193, yes. So without any delays, let's begin. Bismillahi walhamdulillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So التاسع, the ninth hadith, عن أبي سعيد الحسن البصري رحمه الله أن عائذ بن عمرو رضي الله عنه دخل على عبيد الله بن زياد فقال: أي بني، إني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: إن شر الرعاء الحطمة، فإياك أن تكون منهم. فقال له: اجلس، فإنما أنت من نخالة أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. فقال: وهل كانت لهم نخالة؟ إنما كانت النخالة بعدهم وفي غيرهم. رواه مسلم. This ninth hadith is reported by Imam Abu Sa'id, Imam Hassan al-Basri. Very few people actually refer to Imam Hassan al-Basri by his kunya. Everybody knows Imam Hassan al-Basri. You say the name Imam Hassan al-Basri and the world knows him. But if you mention Imam Abu Sa'id, not so many people will make the connection immediately. But his kunya was Abu Sa'id nonetheless. So Imam Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah, he mentions that Hadrat A'id ibn Amr radiyallahu anhu. Now he was one of the Sahaba who had accepted Islam during the Bay'atul Ridwan. So he was a long time Sahabi. But in this narration here, he entered upon Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Now, who is Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad? Everybody knows this name. The name comes big and famous in when a person talks about the incident of Karbala. So, Ibn Ziyad, some people may just simply know him as Ibn Ziyad. His name was Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. So, everybody knows him for the role that he played in the killing of Hazrat Hussein radiyallahu anhu. But Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, who is he exactly? When you actually read into the history of things and you see where everybody fit in their roles. So Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, his father is Ziyad ibn Abihi. That's how he was famously known. But he's actually Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan radiyallahu anhu. So Ziyad, the father of Ubaidullah, Ziyad, Hazrat Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu had said this isn't his son. He denied parentage for him. But Hazrat Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he established that no, this is indeed his brother. It is the son of his father. So, but he used to be referred to as Ziyad ibn Abihi, Ziyad, the son of his father, rather than Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan. But he is Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan. Thus, he was the grandnephew. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was the grandnephew of Hadrat Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. He was the cousin of Yazid. So Yazid was the son of Hadrat Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was the son of the brother of Hadrat Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan, if we call him by his proper name as he should be called. So the Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad and Yazid ibn Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, they were actually cousins. So that is how the connection was. That is why at the time the Umayyad dynasty was ruling. We're not exactly doing history here tonight, but with the Umayyad dynasty, Yazid was ruling. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was one of his generals. So it was his own cousin, and as the things go along. But in any case, so that is the Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad that is in the hadith that we are discussing here. So Hazrat A'id ibn Amr radiallahu anhu came to him one day and said, Ya ay bunay. Now he referred to him as, oh my son. Now, obviously it's not his son, not in the least, but Hazrat A'id radiallahu anhu is referring to him in a kind manner, despite the fact of who Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was. So he said, oh my son, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying that إن شر الرعاء الحطمة, that the worst of rulers are those who are oppressive. فإياك أن تكون منهم. So beware, and I warn you, don't be from amongst them. Because this was in the days when after the Khulafa Rashidin came, the Khilafah of the Khulafa Rashidin had come to an end, and Hazrat Hassan radiallahu anhu, his Khilafah had lasted for that time, and Hazrat Muawiyah radiallahu anhu had passed away, and Yazid was now ruling. The Khairul Qurun, the Khilafah ala Minhaj al-Nubuwah had come to an end. Now came kingship and things of this sort. So as a result of which, the rulers, it was just before the time of people like Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi and all the other type of corrupt people that came about as a result from this point onwards. So Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anhu, he told him that beware, don't be from these oppressive rulers, because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said they are the worst of rulers. But it shows also the type of person that Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was. Well, like I say, when you know that he was involved as being one of the ringleaders in the killing of Hazrat Hussein radiallahu anhu, who Yazid had not given the command for him to be killed. Hazrat Hussein radiallahu anhu did not come to fight, and he said, let him pass. He'll go to Sham, he'll go to Africa, Egypt at the time, or some other place like that. He'll take part in the jihad. He's not yet to come and fight. But Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was one of those who was adamant that he wanted Hazrat Hussein radiallahu anhu killed and then. Be that as it may. So he replied to Hazrat A'idh radiallahu anhu when he was told this. So he said, Ijlis, فَإِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مِن نُخَالَةِ أَصْحَابِ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم. So he says, he told Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anhu, sit down, because you are from the nukhala. And what is nukhala? Nukhala literally means like a husk. You take you've got your corn, for example, and you take the corn out, and then you've got the husk that's left behind. So he's a husk. The term, at least, is referred to something that is insignificant. Nobody uses the husk. You throw the husk away. You want the corn on the cob that's inside there, but the husk, you throw that away. So he's saying that, you were from the like the insignificant people amongst the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, you're not from the famous Sahaba, you mustn't come and talk, that sort of thing, that disrespect that he spoke to Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anhu. But Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anhu, he speaks up, not for the sake of ego and, defending himself or nothing like this, but to clarify what the belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is. And he says, وَهَلْ كَانَتْ لَهُمْ نُخَالَةٌ. Was there such a thing as insignificant people from the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Never ever. إِنَّمَا كَانَتِ النُّخَالَةُ بَعْدَهُمْ وَفِي غَيْرِهِمْ. The people who were insignificant came after the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Insignificance is found in people outside of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. This is the way the hadith ends. Imam Muslim rahimahullah reports this hadith. But the simple point put down here. Number one, you can see Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anhu was somebody who stood his ground, who was not afraid to say the truth to a tyrant. Number one. Number two is that Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anhu establishes that every single last one of the Sahaba, they are shining stars. Not a single one of them is, people talk now like the minor or the most insignificant Sahabi. Wa na'udhu billahi min dhalik. It's just that when you have when the Sahaba are like stars, there are those who are like Thuraya, like the bright stars that shine out above all other stars. You see certain ones like that. And that is the case with Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Uthman, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhum and others. They shone like those brighter than bright stars. But every last one of those Sahaba, all 124,000 were shining stars in their own right. So there was no one who was insignificant, like there is not a star in the sky that is insignificant. So nonetheless, he says that people who were insignificant, like we are insignificant. We can be insignificant today. You can say in today's world, you have the pious people and others can be insignificant. In the time of the Tabi'in, there were people who were pious and there were those that were insignificant, because Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was a Tabi'in. Yeah, he was speaking to a Sahabi. So obviously, insignificant, evil type people came already from the time of the Tabi'in. So nonetheless, he says, insignificant, useless people were found outside of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. And all of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were great and mighty, and not a single one of them has a single blemish to his name. And this is a belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So it pokes in the eye of those murtaddeen, those closet Shia who masquerade as if they are people of Ahlul Sunnah, and they come and they have issues with Hadrat Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, or with Hadrat Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu, or with any of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. You find it in the case of the hadith rejecting kuffar who find fault with Hadrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu. Once again, the Shia kuffar who have a problem with Hadrat Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhu. So you have these kuffar who find fault with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. These are the ones who are insignificant. You find a lot of these murtaddeen also today. They say make it seem as if those Sahaba who accepted Islam after the conquest of Makkah or close to the conquest of Makkah, they weren't like the great Sahaba, like they weren't actually called Sahaba. You have munafiqeen and murtaddeen who make these kind of statements. And this hadith of Aisha radiallahu anhu kicks them all in the face, because it establishes from the words of a Sahabi no less, in a kitab like Sahih Muslim of all kitabs, what an authentic chain, unquestionable, is the fact that every last Sahabi is great, and there's not a single one who is a low Sahabi. Even if a Sahabi has not reported a single hadith, even if we don't know what his name is, because we don't know all 124,000 Sahaba, but nonetheless, every last one of them is great, whether we know him or not. Anyhow, that was that hadith. Let's move on to the next one. Hadith al-Ashiru, the 10th hadith, hadith number 194. عن حذيفة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: والذي نفسي بيده لتأمرن بالمعروف ولتنهون عن المنكر أو ليوشكن الله أن يبعث عليكم عقابا منه ثم تدعونه فلا يستجاب لكم. رواه الترمذي وقال حديث حسن. So this 10th hadith is reported by Hadrat Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhu, sahibu sirri Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He said that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam took an oath and said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, I take an oath by that Allah in whose hand is my life. And hand here is not to get caught up with the Mujassima beliefs who now see their hand and they think that Allah has a hand like this here. We say Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best how it is, and we leave it as such. We believe in it and we leave the howness and the meaning and everything, that we make tafweed of everything to Allah. Allah knows it best. We are not ascribing things to it. Some people now they take their hand and they look at it, if it with 2 fingers, 5 fingers, 7 fingers, and things of the sort. Amongst the Mujassima, you find them making these kind of statements. So anyway, so Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I take an oath by that being in whose hand is my life. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam takes this oath and then says, La ta'murunna bil ma'ruf. You will, meaning you must most definitely do amr bil ma'ruf. Wa la tanhawunna 'anil munkar. And most definitely you must do nahi 'anil munkar. So you must command the good and you must prohibit the evil. Otherwise what? أو ليوشكن الله أن يبعث عليكم عقابا منه. Or soon Allah will send upon you a punishment from His side. ثم تدعونه, then you will call out to Allah, فلا يستجاب لكم, and Allah will not answer you. In other words, you will be calling out and making dua and making dua and making dua, and you will find that nothing changes. And let us be honest, this is the world that we are living in today. People will make dua and dua and dua and not follow the way that the Sharia has taught us. And then years, 100 years go by and nothing changes, and it like generation after generation comes and goes and nothing changes. Why? Things don't change because we don't return to the way that we are commanded to. We don't do the things that we were told we must do. If we were to do Amr bil Ma'ruf properly and Nahi Anil Munkar properly and fulfill the commands of Allah, so if it is oppression taking place, murdering of Muslims and stuff, and a person fought jihad and you quell them, you quell the fighting and the oppression and the torture of Muslims, and peace returns to the land and stuff like this, and you make certain that amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar is in its place, then people's du'as will be answered and the mercy of Allah will be upon them, and so on and so forth. When you do things the way Allah commands you, then everything will come right. But when you try and do things your own way, because the world today, the international society don't accept such things, then do not expect that Allah must aid you. So ثم تدعونه, you will call upon Allah, فلا يستجاب لكم, and Allah will not answer you. Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah reports this hadith, and the hadith is Hasan. Hadithun Hasanun, meaning it is a good, as it's translated often in English, but it means an authentic hadith. We did enough on the topic of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Anil Munkar previously, so I'm not going to repeat it all over again. But the point once again being, do it or there are consequences. We are told there are consequences. We are told there are repercussions, but we feel no, we can't, we mustn't, it's not right, etc., etc. Then we wonder why things don't move right for us. Okay, moving on to the next hadith, hadith number 195, Al-Hadi Ashara, the 11th hadith of this chapter. عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أفضل الجهاد كلمة عدل عند سلطان جائر، رواه أبو داود والترمذي وقال حديث حسن. So this 11th hadith is reported by Hazrat Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu, who said that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Afdalul jihad, the best of jihad. Now there are many different things referred to as the best of jihad. In another hadith, the best of jihad is the one where your horse's legs are cut and your blood is spilled. So in essence, it's when a person put all the hadith and everything in its place, then the best of jihad, without doubt, and unquestionably, is the jihad on the battlefield. But why does this Afdalul Jihadi kalimatu adlin or kalimatu haq in another narration mentions speaking a just word or speaking the truth to inda sultanin jair, to a tyrant ruler. So the best jihad is to speak a just word, meaning a word of justice, to set the tyrant straight, even though he's not going to listen. And that's the whole point. He's not going to listen to you. Not only is he not going to listen to you, but he's most likely going to torture or kill you. That is what happens with a tyrant. You can look in the world today, not only today, all the years, when somebody comes up and they confront a tyrant and they speak against him, then the tyrant will arrest them, make them disappear, cut them up, execute them, different things as has been done throughout the ages. But the point being, when you do this, it is a form of jihad. And thus Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said the best jihad is to speak a true word or a just word to a tyrant ruler. Because like I said, as the ulama have explained, it is, it's like, when you fight on a battlefield, when you fight the jihad on the battlefield, you have it one way or the other. You can win, you can lose. You have the odds often are in your favor, even because you have so many people, they have so many people, you on equal footing, so to speak. But when he comes in front of Sultan Jair, he has all the power, he has all the men, he has the might, he has everything. He can just flick his fingers and the entire army is there to arrest you or whatever. But here you are, you have no weapon, you have nothing, you're in front of a tyrant where he's not just a ruler, he's a tyrant ruler. So you confront him and he kills you. So therefore, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam explains in this hadith that it is a great form of jihad, and thus we also understand that it is something that we have to do. Somebody's got to do it. Otherwise, the tyrants will be unchecked, and when they are unchecked, tyranny rules in the land. So anyway, the point being, at the end of the day, when you stand up to the tyrant and you correct him on his wrongs, you like the Imam of the past used to do, they would condemn him for his evil, command him with that which is good. And sometimes you found rulers who were not so tyrannical, and they would break down and cry and stuff like this here and things of the sort. And others were the evil types who would just basically end up killing them. So nonetheless, at the end of the day, the point being, the best of jihad is to speak a true word or a just word to a tyrant ruler. But like I say, keeping it in mind that the best jihad is actually fighting on the battlefield where your blood is spilled, as the hadith mentions, your horse's legs are cut and your blood is spilled. In other words, you are fighting so in the thick of battle that you're on your horse is cut down, you fall down, you get up and you fighting, and then they cut you down also, so your blood is spilled there on the ground too. So that is the best jihad. You're not going to come now and say, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to say, I'm going to come there for somebody who I consider to be a tyrant. I'll speak a word to him and boom. It don't exactly work that way. Things have got places, and the Sharia is given everything. And this is not to take away from the greatness and the importance of speaking a true word to a tyrant. Don't ever get me wrong. The point is just that to clarify things, because sometimes people see, so therefore this is the greatest jihad and not fighting on the battlefield. So no, in it holistically, fighting on the battlefield is the greatest. It is the one which contains all the rewards and all the perks and everything else that are associated with it. But this is also something great which the Sharia has commanded us with as well. Any case, Imam Tirmidhi and Imam Abu Dawud, rahimahumullah, both of them reported, and Imam Tirmidhi graded it as being Hassan. Once again, an authentic hadith. Let's do one more hadith before our time runs out. Hadith number 196. الثاني عشر عن أبي عبد الله طارق بن شهاب البجلي الأحمسي رضي الله عنه أن رجلا سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وقد وضع رجله في الغرز: أي الجهاد أفضل؟ قال: كلمة حق عند سلطان جائر. رواه النسائي بإسناد صحيح. الغرز ركاب كور الجمل إذا كان من جلد أو خشب. The 12th hadith is reported by Hadrat Abu Abdullah, Hadrat Tariq ibn Shihab, not Tariq ibn Ziyad, but Tariq ibn Shihab al-Bajali, al-Ahmasi, radiyallahu anhu. He said that a man asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, وَقَدْ وَضَعَ رِجْلَهُ فِي الْغَرْزِ. So this Sahabi, he had put his foot in the stirrup, as we would say, the stirrup of a horse, but except he had a camel, and you'll see this towards the end. So he had put his foot in the stirrup, and I asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam this question, that أَيُّ الْجِهَادِ أفضل? Which jihad is the best? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, كلمة حق عند سلطان جائر. Speaking the truth, speaking a true word to a tyrant ruler. Imam al-Nasai rahimahullah reports this hadith with an authentic chain of narration, and Imam al-Nawawi then explains that al-gharzu, the word gharz, it means rikabu kawri al-jamali, the like the إذا كان من جلد أو خشب, that when the reins, like you can say, let's call it a stirrup. We understand the stirrup with horses, but in Arabic there are different words used for the different animals, the different things. You're going to say you put a stirrup on a donkey, you're going to put a stirrup on a horse, you're going to put a stirrup on a camel or elephant even. But nonetheless, for when it is used for a camel and it is made out of leather or like palm fiber sort of thing, not exactly palm fiber, but you get the picture, like wood, etc., then this is referred to as gharz. So when we translate it simply into English, he put his foot in the stirrup. He was about to get onto his animal, and he put his foot in the stirrup and he asked this question, and this is the answer that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given him. Okay, the next one, two hadith less for the remainder of this chapter. But the next hadith nonetheless is quite a lengthy one, so obviously we will not have time to do it tonight. So with that being said, we will end on this point for tonight, inshallah ta'ala, and next week we will continue on from hadith number 197. But until that time, we end and we say, وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ وَسَلَّمَ وَبَارَكَ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ سُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ سُبْحَانَكَ اللَّهُمَّ وَبِحَمْدِكَ نَشْهَدُ أَن لَّا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ نَسْتَغْفِرُكَ وَنَتُوبُ إِلَيْكَ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ.